lovelies, I'm finally getting around to filming my breastfeeding Q&A. It's something that I've been asked a lot about. If you didn't know, I have exclusively breastfed my daughter since she was born, and she's now 9 months old and we're still going strong. I asked you guys on Twitter quite a while ago to ask me some questions you would like me to answer in this video. I was going to film it one weekend, and then we ended up going to Liverpool, and then we had family weddings, and I haven't had any time over the weekends to film anything. But Doug has currently taken Delilah to the park, which means I have time to film. God knows what the lighting's like. It just keeps going in and out, but we're just gonna have to, this will have to do. Do suggest you get a cup of tea or coffee or any choice of drink or some food, because I have a feeling this could potentially be a somewhat long video. I've wanted to film this video for quite a long time now. I knew I wanted to talk about breastfeeding and my experience in more detail, but I didn't feel comfortable talking about it until I'd breastfed for a fair amount of time, and I said to myself, once I hit 6 months and beyond, I'll feel comfortable to talk about it. The plan was to do my breastfeeding story, but because my story's yet to end, I kind of thought maybe I'll do that later on when I can tell my story from beginning to end. So instead, I thought I'd do a Q&A. By the way, before we get started, I am obsessed with this jumper. I've got this probably about a month ago, and I've basically lived in it since I got it. It's from And Other Stories, and I'm just so in love with it. If they still have it, I'll link it in the description. But yes, it's just so cozy. Right, onto the questions. Where do you get your nursing friendly clothes from? I've got a wedding to go to, and I find it a nightmare to find anything. Actually finding stuff you can wear is such a pain, especially when Delilah was younger. I was having to feed her a lot, which meant when we were out and about, I without a doubt probably would have to feed her, which really limited what I could wear. So not only had my body changed and I couldn't fit into half of my wardrobe, I also then had to find something to wear that I could also breastfeed her in, and it just limits your wardrobe to like that much. And if you're someone like me who really relies on their clothing to kind of make them feel confident and good, like if I've got a nice outfit, I feel good that day. So when you're feeling rubbish because you've had no sleep and you've just had a baby and you've got a baby on the bed looking at you screaming, and you're trying to find something to wear and just look half presentable to leave the house, it's just so stressful to then be like, oh no, I can't wear that because I can't feed her in that. I honestly haven't got a single item of nursing clothing in my wardrobe. I don't like them, one, because they just all look the same. If it's a dress, it's a wraparound dress, or one with like a lifty up flap at the top. If it's a top, again, it's just wraparound style, usually v-necks. It's just not the stuff that I like to wear. So all I've worn really since she's been born are jeans, and then what I'll do is I'll wear a vest top underneath anything I'm wearing, and then a jumper or a t-shirt that I can just lift up and then feed her through the vest. Now, I did buy a couple of nursing vests from Topshop. I'm sure ASOS do them as well. But when you're also wearing a nursing bra that has clips here, there's just so many plastic clips, and when you're trying to discreetly then like put your hand up your top and put your bra back and then your vest back, and you end up getting the clips mixed up and you're all tangled and you get all flustered, and it's just I personally after a while just was so sick of having all these blimmin' clips to do up. I actually swapped from wearing nursing vests to just normal vests. If you get a low cut vest from Gap, do really good ones. Most vests will be stretchy enough to just pull down at the side, and you can just put it down, unclip your bra and feed them. And the good thing about wearing a jumper or a t-shirt that you can just lift up like that. Oh, the sun's come out and I've gone very bright. Obviously today I'm not wearing a vest, so I can't show you how I do it, but let's pretend this is a low cut vest. I'd then just pull my jumper up, pull my vest down, unclip my bra, and having the top or jumper up here kind of like makes it more discreet. So yeah, stretchy things. I actually have a non-nursing bra that's from Topshop. I think it's a sports bra, and because it's really stretchy fabric, I can just pull it down. Let me sort this lighting out because it was gone so bright. Hang on. Is it going? Is the sun going back in? There you go, I think that's a bit better. Why I rely on natural lighting, I don't know. It's just the worst. Oh, the sun's going back in now. Should we put the lighting back up? Okay. There we go. Yeah, so luckily I'm someone that has always liked wearing skinny jeans and tops and jumpers. Dresses are a pain. I kind of, when I get to go out without Delilah, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much now because she only feeds 4 times a day. So generally I can do it at home, and then it doesn't matter what I wear out. But when she was smaller and I'd go out without her, I would make the most of it, and I'd be like, I have to wear a dress because I can never wear dresses at the moment. But yeah, good nursing clothing, I'd say ASOS and Topshop are great. My nursing bras, I'm wearing one of them right now and it's actually so comfortable. I'll probably continue to wear it when I'm not nursing her. It's a Heidi Klum bra and they're so comfortable. They look really pretty. Maybe I'll put a little clip in now so you can see what they look like. But it's just a really lovely bra and it's actually quite a pretty nursing bra, and a lot of nursing bras aren't pretty. Why am I going into nursing bras now? You didn't even ask me about nursing bras. I think I answered that question. ASOS is good, Topshop is good, but yeah, I didn't really get nursing stuff. Right, next question before this video ends up being an hour long. How long does Delilah feed for and does it get any quicker? My son takes an hour at a time. Delilah would take about 40 minutes to an hour the first month or so of breastfeeding. Honestly, it is such a blur. And before a long time she was taking like 40 minutes to an hour. Gradually over time it's just gotten less and less. And now I feed her and it takes her 5-10 minutes, and she doesn't even really comfort feed anymore. Once she is done and she's gotten what she wants, she's off. She's pretty much 9 months now, so she's been like that since maybe 6 months, 5-6 months. Since 6 months I've fed her every 4 hours, 4 times a day. She doesn't feed through the night anymore now, but that is because we got a very lovely sleep specialist to come in, costing us an arm and a leg, but it was so worth the money because, as some of you may know, the sleep was horrendous and I was feeding her back to sleep and it was the only way she would go to sleep, so she was like up every hour. But since we had the sleep specialist come in, I'm pretty sure she was Mary Poppins. She just worked wonders. Since 6 months she's not fed through the night, and with this new routine that she has, she only feeds every 4 hours and it will literally be for 5-10 minutes. I keep going off on a tangent. This is a chatty, chilled out video, so I hope you guys don't mind. What advice would you give for first time mums attempting breastfeeding? My main bit of advice that I think was probably the best advice I heard, and I can't remember where I heard it: never give up on a bad day. So if you're really struggling with breastfeeding and you're having a really shit time of it, don't quit on the day that you're having just such a horrendous day with it. If on a day where it's a good day and they're feeding fine and it's not painful, this and that, and you're having a good day and you say to yourself, no, you know what, I still want to quit breastfeeding, I'm not happy with it, I want to move on to formula or I want to combine. If when you're in a good headspace and it's a good day and you feel like you want to quit, then fine, do it, but don't give up on a day where you're feeling really down. So that without a doubt had to be the best bit of advice that I either read or watched on YouTube, or I can't remember where. Also, the other bit of advice I'd give, cluster feeding, aka feeding a lot, like every hour for a long time in the beginning, does not mean you don't have a milk supply. It does not mean you're not producing enough. It simply means that your baby is telling your body that it needs to produce milk. They will feed for as long as they need until your milk comes in, and then the cluster feeding will kind of stop and then they'll have a growth spurt and they'll need to feed lots again. It does not mean that you're not producing enough, do not worry. Obviously I'm not a professional and there are some mums that might not produce enough, or there might be a reason why the baby isn't getting something, so please just go with your gut instinct. But I do feel like there are a lot of mums that give up because they just haven't had that information of it's normal for babies to cluster feed. And also, you are so not alone. Like, breastfeeding is hard. I remember sitting in the chair that I'm looking at in front of me now next to the camera. I remember sitting in this chair like 5 o'clock in the morning with Delilah. She'd been screaming all night. It was agony feeding her on specifically my left nipple. Both boobs hurt, but my left was the worst. I remember I was in tears, like absolutely hysterical tears at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think the Olympics were on the telly and I just thought, I can't do this. I'm not hacked out for this. Like I cannot hack this. Like it was horrible, and I'm pretty sure every other mum that's breastfed knows that feeling. Don't suffer in silence. There are, you know, the NHS is a wonderful thing. I know I'm quite lucky in my area. There are lots of breastfeeding cafes and help groups and stuff like that. I never used any of them though, because even though the facilities were there, I just never really, I don't know, I was just tied up in the whole newborn phase, and I don't know, I didn't want to go out and see people, and it's something that other people can't do for you. You just have to kind of get used to it and learn it yourself. I know it's like easy to say, oh, get help, because I didn't, and I I didn't really suffer in silence. You know, I did have support around me, but even if it just means having a Google and going on some forums or commenting on this video asking for advice, then please do. I'm not going to be able to reply to everyone's comments on this video, but what I do want this video to be is a lovely little community where people can ask questions in the comments and people can answer and help out, and please help one another. Right, I'm going off on one again. Next question: is there anything you can do / prepare yourself to breastfeed before your baby is born? I read up on it. I went to NCT antenatal classes, and one of the classes was solely based around breastfeeding, and as much as that kind of prepared me, nothing can prepare you. Like, I was super prepared and I still really struggled. And I remember in the NCT classes them telling us if it hurts then you're doing it wrong, and it hurt, and it turns out it hurts a lot of women. And for me, Delilah latched on beautifully. She didn't have a tongue tie, she didn't have anything wrong, she was doing exactly what she needed to do. My boobs are quite like good boobs to breastfeed. There was nothing wrong with my nipples or anything like that. I just think it was the pure fact that I had this tiny little creature sucking on my nipples almost 24/7 for weeks, and my boobs weren't used to it, and I think it made them dry and cracked. And I just think for some people you could be doing it perfectly, but you might just be prone to your nipples being more sensitive than others. I only know one woman from all the classes that I go to and all the people that I talk to who had absolutely no problem with breastfeeding. So I don't want to scare you guys, like, it's fine and you'll get over it, and breastfeeding is like the easiest thing now. I think the first 6 weeks are genuinely the hardest. Like, people always say that the first 6 weeks are the hardest and it will get easier, and it really did. So all I can say is just do your research from reliable sources. So maybe in the description I'll link some reliable sources like the NHS website and other places. I'd say look up on ways you can hold baby to breastfeed. I would say definitely look into how supply and demand works. That kind of ties in with cluster feeding, because that's the biggest thing that, like I said earlier, that you can try and tell yourself when your baby's wanting to feed all night it's not because you're not producing enough. Well, 9 times out of 10 it will be just because they're trying to get your body to produce the milk. A small percent of the time it might be because you haven't got enough supply, but it's less likely to be that. So just look up supply and demand and how to kind of get a good latch. But to be honest, I did all that research on how to get them to latch and things like that, and I think I was a bit lazy. I was a bit kind of once she was on, I was like, oh no, I just keep her, because it was actually quite hard to get her off. You have to do that thing where you like put your finger into their mouth and it kind of gets rid of the suction, and then you can get them off and relatch them. But even doing that was just so painful for me that I would just leave her to do her thing. Also look into kind of how the actual feeding works, because I'm just going off on a tangent and I'm not making any sense, I'm sorry. But in our antenatal classes we also learn about how the nipple goes into the mouth and how you have a soft palate and a hard palate. And what you want to do is you want the baby to get a really good amount of your nipple in their mouth. What you don't want to do, and which is what I think I was doing and just letting her do it, and then it got painful to the point where it was too late, and then it made the rest of feeding hard for me. What you want to do is, by them getting a big mouthful of your nipple, I never thought I'd be saying that in a video, by doing that your nipple will go straight past their hard palate onto their soft palate near the back of their throat, so that your nipple isn't then rubbing against the hard bit of their palate. So if you feel you feel the top of your palate, it's hard there and then slightly kind of softer at the back. So what you want your nipple to do is go past that. What I think I was doing was, she was putting my nipple in her mouth, it was going on her hard palate until she kind of had a few sucks, and then it would go past the hard palate and then it would be comfortable. So yeah, what was the question? Just try and get the latch right. If it doesn't feel like it's right, like if it feels uncomfortable to begin with, because I thought, oh, it just feels a bit weird, it just feels uncomfortable, it's fine though, I'll get used to it. I think that's what made it really sore in the beginning for me. So yeah, you can do all the research that you want and it will help, but the actual technique of breastfeeding, you and your baby will just learn it together, and you'll learn your own techniques, you'll learn how you'll decide what positions you prefer, you'll learn what's best for you and your baby. It's something that you learn on the job. really. Anywho, on to the next question. To someone who has never breastfed before, how can you describe what it feels like? I honestly don't know. So again, it's one of those things, like I couldn't tell you what it felt like to give birth to her, because you just forget. Like I could be feeding her right now and I still probably couldn't explain what it feels like. I could tell you what letting down feels like. So letting down is basically when your baby latches on, they suckle for a bit, it signals to your boobs to let milk out, and I still find it happens now. It's not as strong as it used to be, but even now what happens is my boobs like get really hard, like both of them will get really hard. Didn't think I'd ever be doing that on camera. They'd get like really hard and tense, almost like you know when you get cramp in your leg and like your muscles get like really tense, kind of what my boobs do. I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but my boobs like get really hard and tense, and that's kind of quite, it used to really hurt, and now it's sometimes a little bit, a bit like getting cramp. Sometimes they used to sting a bit and then once the milk starts to come out, the crampy feeling just kind of subsides, and then your boobs go soft again. That's the only bit I can really describe. The actual feeling of breastfeeding, I can't explain. It's a weird one. What has been the best thing about breastfeeding Delilah? Without a doubt, the best thing about breastfeeding Delilah has been that I've been able to provide her with the best start possible. I'm not saying that to like make people who formula feed feel crappy, because I was formula fed from day one. My mum didn't even try to breastfeed me and I was fine. My mum loved me and she wanted the best for me, just like anyone who was breastfeeding. I'm not putting anyone down. Although, you know, fed is best. Scientifically, it's proven that breastfeeding is the best for your baby, but formula feeding isn't going to hurt them. But breast is best in the sense that breast milk is made for your baby and it is the best. Please don't shoot me for that. Because I really don't like. I put something on Instagram a while ago about formula feeding. I mean, if you read that, you know I have nothing against formula feeding. Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm trying to say, but I feel really proud of myself that I've been able to give Delilah breast milk and exclusively breastfeed her until she was 6 months, and she still has just breast milk now, but she also has food. And I honestly didn't think I'd make it to 6 weeks, let alone 6 months, and now 9 months, and I plan on doing it until she either decides that she doesn't want to breastfeed anymore, or until she gets to about 2 years old. And if she's still breastfeeding at 2, I'll probably start to wean her off myself. But just the fact that you can watch this little baby growing on purely just something your body's producing is the most bizarre and amazing thought. Delilah's a chunk, as you guys know. She's been on the 75th percentile the whole way. She barely lost anything from birth, and babies can lose up to like a certain percentage of their birth weight within the first week and then they put it back on. Delilah lost nothing. She just started pretty much gaining from day one, and I think my body's done that. That's amazing, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself for sticking to it as well, because I don't have much willpower. So the fact that I managed to stick through the pain and the night feeds and the stress of, like, it is stressful when like you're the only one doing feeding. I'm really proud of myself for just getting through the tough bit, because now it's just like the easiest thing ever. So that's the best thing about breastfeeding her. How did you deal with breastfeeding pain in the beginning, especially the things you went through? I cried a lot. But no, really, when my nipples were really cracked, I used lanolin cream or lanolin gel or whatever you call it. It's in a little purple tube. That was really good to put on my nipples when they were like really dry and cracked and burning. There was a point where I was in the shower for weeks. I couldn't like let the shower water go on my boobs because it hurt my nipples so bad. And then I got thrush in my breasts, I don't know, when Delilah was a couple of months old, and then the shower actually felt amazing because they were just itchy. So yeah, pain wise, I just lanolin cream, but be careful, you don't want to put too much on. Like if your breasts are cracked, I'd probably be a little bit careful, because I think that's why I might have got thrush. But I've heard olive oil is good because that moisturises but also helps to not promote thrush, but you would have to wipe that off before you breastfed. I got mastitis as well. But I got these like beady things that you heated up, you popped in your bra, and that really helped to kind of unblock any blocked ducts. So if you get a blocked duct, it's just like this hard lump that you get in your breast where the milk is a bit stuck. Warm flannel, warm bath, warm compress, does anything, just really helps to relieve it, and massaging it. I've heard cabbage leaves are great, like put cabbage leaves in your bra until they've wilted and then replace them with some more cabbage. I never did that, but people say it works wonders. With mastitis, I had to go to the doctors and get antibiotics. So if you've got a blocked duct, that's really hard to say quickly, or mastitis, the best thing to do feed, feed, feed. The first time I got mastitis, my boob was so painful that I actually didn't feed Delilah. I think it was because I had a really painful nipple still as well, and then my whole boob started to hurt. And I actually didn't feed Delilah on that for like 12 hours, and it was the stupidest thing to do because I was in agony. I was actually howling. I think my neighbours probably thought I was having another baby. The best thing I could have done is to feed her. A couple of months after it got better, I felt little twinges, like I might be getting either a blocked duct I can't keep saying that, or I thought I was getting mastitis again. I don't know what it was, but something didn't feel right, so I just made sure I fed Delilah when it loads, and it went away on its own. Next question. On the days when breastfeeding seems like more pain and hassle than it's worth, what did you say to yourself to be able to carry on? I kind of covered this earlier. So apart from the whole never give up on a bad day, I'd also say take every day as it comes, or take every feed as it comes, because you will get to a point where it isn't as much of a hassle as it used to be, and it's the easiest thing, and when you get to that point it is just like the best feeling, and you are doing the best thing you can for your baby. If you breastfeed for a week, or you breastfeed for 6 weeks or 6 months or 2 years, like, just be proud of yourself for giving it a try. How do you get over the worry they're not consuming enough? Again, that's kind of touching on what I said earlier. Majority of women will produce enough for your baby. It is hard because you physically can't see how much you're producing. One thing I will say to add on to my points from earlier is, if you decide to pump, don't go by how much your body is able to pump. It doesn't matter how good your breast pump is, your breast pump is not going to be able to get out as much as your baby can. Your body is constantly producing milk, so if you breast pump, although you should really give it some time between pumping and feeding your baby, there'll still be milk there from your baby. You will never take away from your feed. There will always be something in there for your baby. Basically what I'm trying to say, if you're pumping and you think, I've only produced like an ounce, or you can't produce anything through pumping, because there are some people that just cannot pump anything, it doesn't mean you haven't got any milk. It just means that your baby can more efficiently get more milk out than a breast pump, if that makes, does that make sense? To answer the question properly, I think the biggest thing that helped me realise that she was getting enough and that I didn't need to worry was that she was gaining weight. She was gaining weight really well. So your baby will be weighed quite a lot when they're first born, and if they're gaining weight, be it, you know, a little bit every week or quite a lot every week, you know that they're gaining weight, and they're obviously getting what they need. Has Delilah started to bite? Does it hurt? How do you deal with that? Delilah now has 4 teeth. She has her 2 front top and her 2 front bottom. She has occasionally nipped me. Nothing that makes me howl out in pain, but it does make, like, there have been moments where I've just gone, oh, that's a bit uncomfortable, to moments where I've gone, oh, Delilah, like, that really hurt. I've not drawn blood. It's nothing that's made me go, I have to stop breastfeeding. If she does it, I just go, no, Delilah. I take a stern voice with her, and she kind of looks at me like, oh. She doesn't do it often. I think when she does it, because she's fussing around or just being silly, and I say, no, Delilah, I think she's realised, oh, mummy doesn't like that. You have to tell yourself, if babies bit you when they had teeth to the point where it was painful, you wouldn't hear of people still breastfeeding their babies at 2-3 years old. Do you ever feel uncomfortable when breastfeeding in public? No, never. I remember the first time I breastfed in public. Delilah was, I don't know, maybe 5 days old. We went to a coffee shop and I fed there. And I fed her there. I think the picture that Doug took of me feeding her is on my Instagram. And ever since, I've fed her everywhere. I've fed her in parks, on trains, in cafes, restaurants, over at families' houses. I've fed her everywhere. I think we're lucky here in England, especially like the southeast of England, and even in like my area. There are so many families. Like, my area is very family friendly. I've never had any weird looks for breastfeeding. I've even had a couple of mums kind of talk to me about breastfeeding, and we've kind of shared our stories and encouraged each other. That's been really lovely. I think due to media, women are a lot more scared to breastfeed in public than they probably were 30 years ago, because they didn't hear all these stories about people not being very nice to women breastfeeding in public. But I'm personally yet to encounter anyone to be mean about it or to think it's disgusting or whatever. Honestly, if they did, then screw them. Like, you're feeding your baby, and like, that's that, you're feeding your baby and it's natural, and they can just bugger off. Really, they don't have to look at it. When I first started feeding Delilah, and I was doing it a lot, it featured heavily in my vlogs, and I wanted to share that and I wanted to show that because I wanted to show people that it's okay. You know, I'm happy to share it online, I'm happy to do it in public, and I've actually had a few of you say, I never fed my baby in public until I watched your video and I saw you doing it in public. Today I actually went out and I fed my baby in public, and I thought, if Rihanna can do it, I can do it. I can't remember who it was that told me this, but she said since then she's been really comfortable about feeding in public and she's had no jip about it. That makes me so happy to think that I've been able to give someone that confidence to do that. It's nice. Last question. Did Delilah latch on right away, or did it take some time to figure it out? She latched on straight away. She was on like that as soon as she was born. Even the midwives and nurses in the delivery room came over and was like, oh, she's feeding already, amazing. And all the nurses said her latch was beautiful and that she had no problems with that. So it even just goes to show that even if the baby knows what they're doing and you know what you're doing, your nipples might just be extra sensitive like mine were, and you might just have some problems with it. Delilah did latch on beautifully, and you can tell by their jaw being nice and wide, and a lot of their nipple being in their mouth, so you kind of want their lips to be like this. You can kind of see from their jaw up until kind of their temple, you'll see it kind of moving, and it shows that they're suckling properly. But you'll know what I mean if you breastfeed, or you're starting to breastfeed. You'll know what I mean because you'll see your baby do it. Right, that is all the questions. I'm going to quickly talk about my breast pump before Doug gets home with Delilah because we need to put her down for her nap. I have all the bits in 2 boxes that I just keep in the kitchen. I have the Medela, I think it's a freestyle one. There's one that kind of looks like a pebble, which are very similar. It's definitely louder than the other rounder one, but I think this is more powerful. I'm not too sure. I love this. Like, it's so easy to travel with. Like, as you can see, it's just as big as my hand. I could do a whole video on how to use a breast pump and this and that, but yeah, basically it's really simple to put together. This one has a battery, so you can charge it in the wall and then just use it without it being plugged into a wall. It has a clip on the back, which is really handy. So whenever I've had to multitask, because let's face it, mums, we have to learn to multitask, I can clip this onto the back of my jeans and hold one breast pump in place whilst I use my other hand to, I don't know, feed Delilah food and whatever I need to do. You can get those bras that basically hold the pump in place, but I just find them, I don't know, I just much rather hold it. I don't know, what is this? This isn't a tutorial, is it? What am I even talking about? But yeah, this is the breast pump that I use. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. I really recommend it. It's noisy, as you can hear, but it's fab. Really good. Delilah only had bottles when she was babysat. She's not been a baby that's had a bottle every day or very regularly. There were times where she refused to take a bottle and then she was fine taking a bottle, and now apparently she doesn't want a bottle anymore now she's older. So I've kind of stopped pumping now because I don't produce much anyway when I pump anymore, because my body is so used to feeding at 6:30 in the morning, 10:30, 2:30 and 6:30 in the evening, and that's it. It's not producing any more than it needs. Oh guys, I feel like that video, I feel like I didn't get to the point. Was that helpful? I really hope it was. If you have any more questions, ask in the comments. I would love everyone to just get involved and be really friendly to each other and just be really helpful. And if you're breastfeeding at the moment, whether you're a week in or a year in, well done mama, you're doing good, keep going. It is hard, but it's worth it. And if you plan on breastfeeding, then well done for, you know, trying, but please know that if it doesn't work out, you're not a failure. The best thing you can do for your child is to just love them, look after them, and that's all they need. That's the most important thing. Please don't beat yourself up about it if for some reason you end up not breastfeeding. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. There's so much to learn and it is so overwhelming at first, like even just trying to figure out how to use a flipping breast pump and sterilise things. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go because my baby needs to go to sleep now. I've made Doug and Delilah stay out way longer than they need to be because she really should be having a nap now. I would love you guys to leave your best bit of breastfeeding advice in the comments, whether it's advice that you have or the best bit of advice you were given by someone else. And I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye 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 bye.